This is Kitsch Haring, an iconic figure of the New York downtown scene of the 1980s. But let's let him introduce himself.
I grew up in a really small town in Pennsylvania called Kutztown, which is northeast of Philadelphia. I grew up learning to draw from my father from about the time when I was about 4 years old.
At the age of 19, he moved to New York City to study visual arts, and he found himself among an alternative arts community developing outside the museum system. Haring achieved first the public attention with chalk drawings in the New York subway, sometimes arrested by the police because of these facts.
To get caught, and getting locked up for a few hours.
Hold on. I'm under arrest for graffiti in the subway.
Oh, good. Get this on film.
You actually locking them up for throwing the people?
It didn't happen that often. Most times, cops would just give you a ticket and let you go.
Around this time, the radiant baby became his symbol. He began to organize and participate in exhibitions and performances at famous Club 57. His career took off, and he established friendship with emerging artists of the 80s like Madonna and Jean-Michel Basquiat. Haring created more than 50 public works between 1982 and 1989 in dozens of cities around the world. In 1988, Haring was diagnosed with AIDS. 1 year after, he established the Kitsch Haring Foundation to provide funding and imagery to AIDS organizations, but also to expand the audience for his work. Kitsch Haring died of AIDS-related complications at the age of 31 on February 16, 1990. Universal concepts of birth, death, love, sex, and war, using a primacy of the line and the directness of message, are his main legacy. Besides, Haring was able to attract a wide audience and assure the accessibility and staying power of his imagery. Out of the streets, the work of Kitsch Haring is being exposed in museums all around the world. His first exhibition was in 1978 in the Pittsburgh Center for the Arts. His work can also be seen in online databases and videos published on the internet. All of this shows that Haring's work is widely appreciated as high art. But Haring's art is also valued outside this high sphere. The famous puppets popped up everywhere, and the reason for the expansion is his massive production. These can also be considered as kitsch, because kitsch is that kind of expression that is based on repetition and that calls to the sentiment. Kitsch can be everything. It can be a food, it can be an object, it can be a place, it can be a person, or well, even three.
What have I done to deserve this?
And can be recognized in Kitsch Haring's work. After his death, many brands have used this kitsch factor to support their images, like vodka firm Absolut or BMW. In these examples, his art becomes part of the functional object itself. Instead of just being art, you can actually travel with the art and use it. The clothing brand Obey prints t-shirts with Haring's designs on them. It's not only a way to make a bland and boring white t-shirt interesting, but it also says something about the identity and taste of the person who's wearing it. It speaks for itself. The figure of Kitsch Haring is an example of the kitsch paradox, because kitsch, as we can see, is in everyday life, but it is also in the museums. It can be the finest art of the 80s, but it also just can be a t-shirt, a mug, or a doodle. Kitsch can be the lowest and the highest. And now, would you say that kitsch shouldn't be considered as art?
Do it.